I thought I'd never get an invite.
I'm sorry. I'm doing the best that I can. Glad you're here. Okay, have you got us up? I believe we are live. Wally the dog wants in. Okay, I have voice lines on, so I need to shut that
Okay,
off.
we are live.
I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm making it happen. I'm so excited. Let's get transitioned over to where we belong. Visuals, voice lines off. Alrighty. That's the one I want. That's the one I want. Okay, let me see if I can do this part of it now. We're going to transition. And there we are. Isn't that exciting?
I'm
I
watching
am
for it.
I am eventually going to, yeah, it's got a delay. So, hello everybody. Should have a how
Right.
Rec Room looks in the metaverse coming up too soon, real soon. Well, hi Doc, how
Yes.
are you? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear
Hello.
you. Yes, yes. Okay.
Hello. Hello.
We
Hello.
should be. I mean, we're getting better at this all the time. So I don't know why I
Absolutely.
keep seeing this thing. It comes up. It says guest right there, and over here it says doc. Oh, I see. I'm seeing your dot. Your camera finders. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was
That's
just trying to figure out what it was. It was like, oh, okay.
yeah, well, I can move them if I have to.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, they're good.
So we're here and we're excited, and today we're going to talk about
We are here.
some very interesting information that came out almost a month ago, but I hadn't heard anything about it, so I figured, gosh, maybe we should talk about it. Doc actually found it and said we should probably do that, and he's right because he's always
Well,
right.
there was nothing brand new out this week, so I figured stuff we haven't talked about. Might as well
Yeah.
look at it. And it got into generative AI, where things create type in some words and it creates some stuff, and imagine what that would be if it was in Rec Room. And that a whole interview kind of interested me. I didn't read the whole thing though, so I don't know what else is in it.
Well, what we have up on the screen now is our. I did a slideshow of this so it would make it a little nicer for our viewers, and it's kind of an interesting situation. The whole thing is, oh gosh, I'm hoping I have this set up right now. Afraid I don't.
Yeah, it looks
The
like we've got Three Oaks.
You can see the Three Oaks
Three
bar
Oaks.
in the rec room. Okay,
Yeah.
I've got to get open another window here. So there we go. I should be able to do it up with that. There we go. So how rec room looks in the metaverse opportunity. There was a Dean Takahashi from this company that does reviews and they talk about all the gaming companies and so forth. Did an interview with the CEO of Rec Room, Nick, and I've heard it pronounced several ways now. So I'm going to go with Fayette. The Y, J sounds like a Y, somebody told me. So that's what we're going with. Nick Fayette of Rec Room. He is CEO, and he's one of the contenders to run the Metaverse, which is so exciting. There's so many new innovations happening for us now. Um, The social virtual world hit more than 82 million lifetime users since it started in 2016, and it is available across platforms including Oculus, OSI, Android, PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. The metaverse opportunity isn't a small one. McKinsey and Company estimated it could hit 5 trillion in value by 2030. That's only 7 years from now.
Yeah, 7 years,
Wow.
$5 trillion. I mean, when you're talking dollars, I mean $5, $500, $5,000. I mean, what's $5
Yeah.
trillion dollars? Not,
It just yeah, it's
but
just
I mean,
it's a number.
but if you think of it in the case of a trillion being 1,000 billion
Right. Yeah.
or 100,000 million, I mean, it gets
Yeah.
pretty big. I mean,
That's big.
that's huge.
That is really a lot of money. Now the
Do I have my
company is
numbers right? 100,000 billion, million,
100 million,
100,000 million.
100,000 million? I don't know. Trillion
It's a
is a lot.
thousand billion, a trillion, a
I can't
thousand billion, 100.
100
I don't
million,
know.
trillion,
I'm
billion.
lost. There's so many zeros there. I can't
It's
keep track. That's a lot of
more
that's a lot
zeros,
of dollars.
more zeros than I have toes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it says now the company is testing its Rec Room Studio, a Unity-based plugin that lets players tap more professional tools to create their digital spaces inside Rec Room. He says, I spoke with Fayette in a recent interview about this, and the potential for generative AI is to change the business as well. They also talked about the metaverse and whether it would be open or closed. And he offered his views on ownership of digital assets and what users really care about. Money, that's what I care about. No, it's not true. The creating part of it is all of it for me. Games Beat is the name of the company, and they're in the comments below. So they ask, what is Rec Room up to now? And Nick Fayette says, the biggest thing we're up to now is just trying to make it as easy as we can for people to build great content and get distributed to as many people as possible. We've been working on all types of tools for creators to help them build the content they want to go build monetize that content. Wow, things are really happening in here. I'm getting a lot of lag. Some of them are making a living off of this. Yes, a lot of people are. There's quite a few of them. Let me try that. Probably the biggest tool in the arsenal is what's about to go out, and that's Rec Room Studio. It's a plug-in built around Unity, and that's what's unique about it is it allows you to use industry-capable tools. If you're familiar with Unity, you can go in and use it. But the magic happens when you publish in Rec Room Studio. Typically in Unity, you bundle up your app, submit your app to the app stores, but with Rec Room, you can bundle up your app, press publish, and within 2 or 3 minutes, the room you built is live on Xbox, PlayStation, Oculus, Pico, iOS, and Android. We think of the immensity of publishing and the ability to push that content across platforms is unique, and it really is. I mean, you think about that. Oh my gosh.
So yeah. So we're talking about like having it in VR on a phone, on a laptop, on a PlayStation, etc.
Yep,
All these different areas playing the same game, right?
absolutely. Everybody's seeing your content
I
at
mean,
once. Rather than it going to an app
r-
store and maybe somebody will see it, kind of a thing. I mean, you've got all of the players across all of these platforms in Rec Room. So many people right now. And he says
and
the
it's
goal.
and
Yeah,
it's like YouTube. It's like YouTube with video. Rec Room is for gaming. I mean, I make a
absolutely.
game, you make a game, another person play. You
Absolutely.
know, who do you like? Who don't you like? You go get to where you're watching all their games and going playing
Yeah,
their games versus
absolutely.
videos.
Yeah, yeah. He says our goal isn't to pull developers who are using iOS or something like that. Really, our goal is to give this capability to people who are right now not capable of building games or getting something shipped on something like PlayStation. We can help them build their idea and get it out to millions of people. And that's the truth, too.
I mean, a person who creates games could technically use this as a jumping off point for building more games. I mean, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. GamesBeat says, ask the question. I didn't want to get too much into Fantasyland just yet, but I do wonder about this whole generative AI movement, and the combination of that with user-generated content is right up your alley. Do you think some things might have to be happening first before that becomes really useful? Is generative AI possibly going to be useful very soon? And Mr. Fayette says, I think it will be a powerful tool sooner than later. I think it will still take a human to wield that tool, but what you're seeing is just becoming easier and easier for people to build compelling content. Whether that's an image or an avatar or a poem, you're just seeing generative AI step into a bunch of these. But there's still a human giving prompts and contextualizing what comes back. My suspicion is that that's what a lot of this will look like. And that's something that you've said too, as a teacher, you've been around other teachers who are concerned that their students are going to use these AIs to just, cheat their way through school. But that's really not true, is it?
Well, I mean, just like when I was in school, teachers were afraid that we'd use calculators to do all our math work.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and guess what? We still have calculators in our pockets, just like, I don't know, I mean, it
Yeah,
still takes you to punch it in, and you have to know what goes first to punch in.
right.
So maybe doing the actual calculation isn't as important as doing the process of calculation. Maybe that'll be the same with AI. Of course, I mean, with this whole generative AI thing and this situation, it reminds me of a Star Trek episode where Picard goes up, hits a button, and says, "Holodeck, take me to 1930s Chicago," and
Yeah,
he's in boom, the whole place is there, and he's got a costume on, and he's walked into a place that was just built off of his prompt. I
right.
mean, we're getting kind of close to a thing like that, which is kind of mind-blowing,
It
actually.
is. It really is. It's very mind-blowing. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've built a 1930s room that was a house in 1930s England. So, yeah, I hear that completely. You can
But
go in and just be in a
but
totally different
imagine
world.
if you just had to say,
Right.
uh, build a 1930s
Oh,
English
right.
house, countryside
Yeah.
house with a radio and a Christmas tree, 2 beds upstairs, a pool table, a dining room table, and a laid out Thanksgiving dinner. And boom, 2 minutes later, you had this entire place open up to you.
Well, that's all well and good, but I had a lot of fun building that. I mean, it was a lot of
Well,
work, but I really
right,
enjoyed doing it too. So, it's not all
right. But
it's not
if you
all
started
perfect.
off with that, though, and you went in and you adjusted it to be exactly what you wanted from there,
Right.
I guess that's the idea. If you were
Yeah.
trying, in my mind, if you're trying to build an entire storyline where it went from room to room to room to room to room, and it went, you meet the characters, then you go through the settings and stuff, then you find the problem, the action and the reason why the problem needs to be solved and
Right,
why it's
right,
important to the characters, and then into the solution, and
right,
you could create that entire system
right.
by saying what the whole thing was. Then a person who is more interested in storyline, then learning how to build the house and the Christmas tree and the all these things. Even though
Yeah.
that's fun, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Um, it would. I think it would make the building of the games more about the storyline
Right.
than
Right.
just the artwork. Now, I don't really want to see artwork just being done by a computer, because there's a lot of really cool stuff people make. So maybe make it to where you can say, use these items and make this and this and this and this and this. I
Right.
want it in this style and build it from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which could bring a bunch of other items in, especially if, like in Rec Room, you own it when you have it and you can use it wherever you want. That could be an
Right.
a really amazing thing to be able to do, and also make it to where you'd want more items. So you'd want to, collect things that other people have made more.
Right.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I guess, it's this is the craziest thing I'm ever going to say in my whole life. I think I'm unfortunately old school when it comes to building things in Rec Room. I like the maker pen. I like doing all of the work. I like the storyline too. But wow, there's something cathartic for me to build and create in Rec Room. It's really a great medium, and I really enjoy it. But yep,
Oh,
there's
I
there's all kinds of
absolutely
ways.
agree.
There's all kinds of ways of doing it. That's for sure. Okay. He says a thing that they're really excited about because of locking in with Unity and doing a plug in there. As these tools become capable in the rest of the ecosystem, you have a path to bring that directly into Rec Room through Unity and Rec Room Studio. But his suspicion is that you'll see some stuff in the next year or two in the UGC space around generative 3D content. Right now, what we see is just 2D, but don't feel like we're that far away. And that's true. A lot of the stuff in studio right now feels um, not really flat, but that it's not something that somebody created with a maker pen. It's got a whole different look to it. And if we go back to the top, the very first picture in our, you can see the background and so forth. That's all kind of a photograph type of a thing, probably done in 360. But the items they aren't Rec Room to me. And that's just my opinion, but I said it and I'm sticking to it. Okay. Our next slide has a photo of our CEO Nick Fate's avatar in Rec Room. So if you see this guy running around, that's the guy who's in charge of the whole thing. And you should run over and say hi to him, because I understand he's a really friendly guy and he really enjoys getting out there and seeing what's going on in the game. GamesBeat asked this next question. He says that he saw an experimental one with Ready Player Me and their avatars. Now that's another one of these AIs. Is that right?
I don't know. I'm
Okay.
not familiar with it.
Where he says where they're going to use DALL DALL-E, so DALL-E's generative AI to create clothing for the avatars. All you have to do to generate it is some kind of a text prompt, like I want bees on a yellow jacket or on a yellow background on my jacket, and it'll generate that. They call it experimental now, but it seems to work better than if I were to try to draw bees on a canvas to put on a jacket. In that sense, it feels like some of this is already here, but then there's probably a lot more potential down the road. And of course, Fayette says, of course, the analogy, um, he keeps hearing and attaching to this is to the calculator. The calculator came along and dramatically changed what the average human could do, but there's still a human sitting behind the calculator, putting in the equations, contextualizing the output, and coordinating with other humans who are using calculators too. You'll also see the same
Yeah, I
thing
might
with
have read that part.
yeah, I think it sounds like you did. You'll see the same thing with the generative EI. You're still going to see humans initiating prompts. They'll contextualize the data that comes back. They'll combine it with other things, creative tasks that they're doing to build something interesting. And he says he can see somebody using it for building terrain in Rec Room someday. Perhaps building custom avatar clothing, but that doesn't seem outside the realm of possibility to him, he says. And honestly, I have used an AI. You introduced me to one of them, and I've used it for a couple of scripts to get some ideas. I've used it for some jokes that we've used on our shorts. And honestly, they do have potential, a lot of potential. They don't
Yeah.
always get it right, and sometimes they think that you're trying to say something negative when you're just trying to be ironic or just have some comedy in it, and you have to explain that to them. They're a little thick sometimes when it comes to that. They're very straight-laced,
and they're not up to date. They're not up to date. I mean,
that's true.
they're not. Yeah,
Yeah, that's very true.
they're a couple years off still.
Right. GamesBeat says right now, what level of competence would you say creators need to do a successful Rec Room project? And Fayette says, we think that if you can play Rec Room, you can build in Rec Room. That's the promise we're trying to make to people. If you've played the game like Minecraft, we think a lot of those principles should apply here. We have a tool called the Maker Pen. Yay! I love the Maker Pen, which is a very useful and user-friendly way of getting into the creation space. The tool can lead you all the way to Rec Room Studio in Unity. It's not one path or the other. You can build something with the Maker Pen. You can pull that room into Rec Room Studio and edit it in there. Or you can build something in Rec Room Studio and push it into Rec Room. The key... and keep editing it with the Maker Pen. Well, that's good to hear. I still get to use my Maker Pen. We see it as a spectrum from very approachable for someone who has never touched a 3D tool before, has never programmed anything, all the way up to, hey, these are professionalized tool sets, and we use Unity to build Rec Room, so we can use Rec Room Studio to build rooms in Rec Room. We want to have the same tools we're using to creators as well. We want to give the same tools to we're using to creators as well, which I appreciate because it will solve a lot of the ink problems that we have. Just what we just want to...
I would love. Are we talking about Unity and the fact that it doesn't take up as much ink if you're using that for your whole background area?
Right.
You end up with a far more amazing background area, but at the same time you're using a lot less ink. So yeah,
absolutely. And he
less
says
heat.
we just want to make sure we have that path where you're curious about creation and you want to go in and you can go and be successful with it. And he says, of course, the analogy to he keeps hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, I went the wrong way. Beats asked the question, do you have some new numbers on how many creators there are now? He says, we broke 1 million creators in a single month. Can you believe that? Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I think the numbers...
1 million on Unity? Is that on Unity?
In Rec Room. In Rec Room.
Okay. In a single month when?
I think he says the numbers we were sharing, we had seen more than like 60 million users last year. 9 million users were in VR. Just the VR users spent 218 million hours in Rec Room last year. That means
that's you for half of it.
Shut up. It says that. It says that means the average VR user spent more than a day in Rec Room. Baby, I spend
day?
8 to
You
10
got,
hours
like-
a day, 7 days a week. I'm in here all the time. I live here. I'm surprised
I come here to
count.
visit, all right?
It's the only time you get to see me. Oh gosh. He also says he thinks the VR space is very interesting. We still think it's growing and it's growing strongly. There's a group that really resonates with, and that's true. It does resonate with a group. It's not for everybody.
Right.
It's really not for everybody, but those of us who are here are very
Well,
happy.
I mean, there are some drawbacks. I mean, getting into it, someone has to get over that first, like, week, 2 week,
this motion
seasickness thing. It's
Yeah.
like riding on a boat. A boat's not for everyone to ride on. Some people never get used to the seasickness of being on a boat.
That's true.
The same people probably won't get used to the seasickness on this. Who knows? They might.
They might.
But it's one of those things where it does take some time to get used to and move forward. So,
that's
the
true.
cool
That's
thing though is
absolutely
that those same people can enjoy it on a TV screen or watching
Right.
someone else playing.
Right.
Because I mean, people enjoy watching people play a video game. Don't ask me
Absolutely.
why. Let's plays are very popular.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's just to see how someone else does something. Sometimes it's because, their hands are busy or they're eating a meal and they're like, well, let's just watch, these guys because they're kind of fun to watch. And
I know even back when I was playing, some of the early computer games, I would go and seek out walkthroughs on certain things like Myst. Oh my God. When I first started playing Myst, I was so confused and had no idea what I was supposed to be doing. And I'd watch it, just a little bit of it. I'd just watch a little bit so I could figure out if I was going in the right direction, if I was doing the right thing, and then I wouldn't watch anymore because I love the surprise. I love the total experience of finding stuff out on your own. But, if you don't have some kind of guide, then it can get you can walk away from things because you get too frustrated.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I remember, typing in code and, having to type it in to play a video game
You are old.
versus just being able to show up. Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, there were dinosaurs and then there was Doc. It's in alphabetical order. Catastrophes, dinosaurs, Doc.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of other letters and then there was Moonhair.
Yeah, I'm yes. Just me. Oh my gosh.
And after Moonhair came Rec Room.
Yes, right after me.
Because it's all in alphabetical order.
Yeah, because it's all for me. The whole thing. They did all of this for me. I know they did. And I love them for it. I really do.
All right. Sorry, I pulled us off track there. What's the next thing that we were talking about there?
Okay. He says did I say the part about he thinks his VR space is very interesting? No, I guess not. He says, we think VR space is very interesting. We still think it's growing very strongly. There's a group that it really resonates with. We don't see any signs of that slowing down at all. I should say so. Mm-hmm. The thing that makes us excited about those numbers is we're probably one of the largest VR apps, if not the largest VR app, by total users out there. But you can see that the Rec Room ecosystem extends quite a bit further than VR. You can come in through VR and hang out with your friends, regardless of which device you have. You can build a compelling room, and you're not limited to the VR audience. You can share with the entire world. Anyone with a smartphone can check out that room you built. We think that's powerful. We think that that's what creators want, and they want a big audience, a large audience, and they want to be able to reach across platforms. And he's right. He's absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
I think that.
Well, I mean,
I think that the fact that it's not limited to just an Android device or just VR or just computers is just it's so hard to even believe to imagine, because I mean for so long we've played games that were on the PC but you couldn't play it on your phone, and when they get it into VR, dear God, I'm going to be very torn as to what I'm going to play next, because if they get DDO in VR, oh baby, yeah, I'm
Oh
going to be
yeah,
out there
right.
hacking and slashing some stuff. So
Well, there's also the other side to look at. It's not just gaming in VR. I mean, there are churches in Rec Room. There
yes,
are, there are organizations in Rec Room.
yes,
There
yes,
are hangouts in Rec Room. There
yes.
are learning places in Rec Room. There are shows. There's YouTube shows here in Rec Room. Did you know
Absolutely.
that?
Oh, yes. You know what? And I'll tell you what,
I heard about those.
I went to one yesterday. I got to go to Mercury's room, and shout out to Mercury. Hey, Mercury. And
Hey, Mercury.
he had a Queen concert going on in his, I think it's called the Rainbow Room. And it was so amazing. Those guys worked so hard. They had everything synced down to the drum beats and the movements and the everything. It was just unbelievable.
Wow.
I was just in awe, and I was screaming and yelling in my kitchen, and I'm pretty sure my family thought I was insane, but that's okay.
Nice.
They're going to find out sooner or later anyway. But it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. The music was in stereo. It was all around you. The feeling, everything about being in a concert was there. And I've been to a lot
Cool.
of concerts, but I've been to a couple, and it was a great experience to be able to go in there and see that yesterday. In fact, I created a thing. You want to go get that thing that's sitting on the floor over there? Can you see it? I created this for Mercury's room. I don't know if he'll want it in there or not. It may take up too much. Well, you're gonna have to do
I
it, because
dropped it.
I'm. There you go. Just yeah, that's because I wanted a lighter so I could go back and forth with my lighter and to the time of the music.
That's pretty funny right there.
I created that for him today. So Mercury, let me know if you want that or not. You can have it in your room.
I could see people spending some money on this.
Yeah, it's kind of cute, isn't it?
I wonder if he'd let you sell it in his room for a low price, just so people could have one.
I don't know, maybe.
Just make it real cheap.
Okay, Doc. You monetary booger. All right. So the next.
Hey, look, that's my job.
It is your job.
I can either shake them down.
Yeah.
Or I can make the dollar off of them.
That's right. Okay. Well, the next
Smoke
question
goes down.
Smoke goes down. Wow, that's interesting.
I'm a fire eater. Ah.
Oh, God. Okay. Game Beat asked the question as far as ways for people to get paid or just gather attention. What's happening on that front? With Roblox, you see that pyramid where 8 million people have created something, but there's a tier of people on the top who make tons of money or have lots of traffic. Does it look similar to, for you, that breakdown of users who strike it big? And he says, I don't know the specifics of their business, so it's hard for me to compare. The thing we see in Rec Room, the reasons people are creating content, it's a wide range. It's more like YouTube. A lot of people post to YouTube where their goal is not necessarily making money. The goal might be reaching an audience or seeing a creative vision fulfilled. The thing that we are excited about in Rec Room, I think we paid out 3 times more last year than we did the previous year. We can keep moving on that trend this year. There are people who make very real dollar amounts.
So to be clear, Rec Room is a lot like YouTube, except in a virtual reality situation. That's right. Not that you have to experience it in virtual reality, because you could go through all of Rec Room on any device you want.
Right.
But on the virtual reality idea, it is very you can experience it very easily. So,
Yes.
I mean, just thinking of that,
Yeah.
just that point of it, and the idea that you could people do make a living off of making things in Rec Room.
Right.
It's just like anything else. You build an audience, you invite the audience in, and your audience continues looking at what you're making, your artwork,
Right. Right. And it's just
how
like
you put it together.
I think what's unique about Rec Room is you can make videos about Rec Room and videos in Rec Room and show people what
Right.
you've done on YouTube. So yeah, I mean it's kind of a circle. I like that idea. He
I
says
want to double check.
double check what? Oh, you're gonna check the chat? Okay.
I'm checking the chat, see if anyone's here.
Okay. The other thing he says is what they've found right now, and their goal is just groups of people who can come together, get into Rec Room, and make a living building content if that's what they want to do. If they just want to realize a fun idea, there's still a path to that, and they're excited for them to do that. So, he talks about whether or not it's as they grow, they want to keep an eye on the payout curve and what it looks like. Is it logarithmic? Is it linear? So yeah, that's part of the question. GamesBeat asks, how do you keep a balance around bringing in professional developers to do something and make that available to everyone versus letting the community create? And Fayette says, there's nothing we're doing to stop professional developers from coming in. The way we think about our tools, though, is really how can we build the best tools for the creators we have right now? Even when we're thinking about something like Rec Room Studio, that was a request that our existing creators had. How do I import these 3D assets? How do I use Unity's terrain editor? How do I build these shaders? Something like that. That was what the group wanted, and they had the great group of creators that were asking for that. How do you allow them to achieve more? Well, you could raise the ceiling they're bumping into. They felt that Rec Room Studio was the right way to do that, and that was the impetus. If external creators are very excited to come in and check it out, we won't stop them. But really, we think about the creators we have now first and foremost. That's the group that has access to it right now. The top creators with good moderation standing are the ones who have access. So, people who are building things that are important or that are well received and within the guidelines and sticking to, the code of conduct. GamesBeat asks, is there a particular game that's been the most successful along those lines? I think Showdown was very popular, the Western one. Yes, we built that. Fayette says they built that, and that is a Rec Room original. The best way to make sure your tools are great is to dog food them yourself. I don't know what that means, but
to dog food them.
Yeah.
What?
Dog food them yourself.
What?
I guess try them out. I don't know. It's what it says. We are constantly using our own tools to try and build great pieces of content just to make sure that we understand the challenges and limitations of the tools so we can make them better for creators.
Maybe it's something to do with training, like you use food for a dog.
Oh, maybe. Treats.
To train.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm wondering if this was written with an AI.
Maybe Nick.
Maybe
AI, and maybe Nick Fate's an AI, and we don't even realize it.
No, I saw a picture of him. I saw a picture of him. He's kind of cute. He's young.
But that could be AI created too now.
Oh, that's true.
I mean,
oh,
it could all be.
So that's going to give catfishing a whole new thing, isn't it? Oh my goodness, we'll have to.
Oh God, the thought of AI and catfishing.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
But
Wow.
catfish like dog food, back to dog food. I don't
Dog
know.
food.
Um,
They feed dog food to catfish, I think. I
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is now we've taken this whole circle here.
Oh, Lord. It says we're working on the game right now with Rec Room Studio. It's a horror-themed game, but that's all I can say right now. Oh, so they're going to make a Rec Room Studio horror game that's going to be a Rec Room original.
Yeah,
That'll be fun.
Rec Room original. Ooh, I don't like
Ooh.
horror games.
I love horror games. Bring them on, baby.
I just gotta take a nap and I'll have a horror game. I don't need
Yeah,
to. I don't need a live
that's
action.
true. I had to wake you up again last night. We think our audience is going to get a kick out of it. We hope to launch it with a bunch of new tools that now allow creators to emulate some of the systems we'll put in the new game. It's really about us creating or building content to move the ecosystem forward. So I like the way that he refers it to it as an ecosystem, like it's a real living thing. That's kind of cool.
No, but really, I
Did I
mean, when you
miss?
think
Oh.
about it, I mean, having there's a lot of levels you have to watch at the same time.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
definitely. Yeah. GamesBeat asked, I think Rec Rally was another one that was in-house. Is it still just a handful of these titles versus doing larger numbers? They need me to interview him because, my goodness, these people don't know anything about our game. Uh, he says, we'll probably...
That's it. Nick, if you're out there, if you're seeing this, or if you know Nick, just like pass this message on to him. Nick, we need you on the show so that we can
Right here.
so Moon can interview you.
Yes,
she'd be good
absolutely. At it. He says we'll probably make a single-digit number of these per year. So, and they're not going to bring out more anything more than one a year for the Rec Room originals. Maybe 2 or 3 per year was where we looked to get to. It's not about the games themselves. It's about making sure if there's a game we think creators want to make, and it's not currently possible, let's go and build it and figure out all the tools that we need to have there. And that makes sense. If something needs to be figured out, the best way to do it is to do it. We can launch the game.
Not only that, then they get the tools together,
yes,
so that when you're making something, you don't have to like spend weeks trying to figure out how to play something and if it's going to be too much heat for your game to run. And heat means that there's too many calculations or something like that to run the game.
Right. Can slow your room
down.
The
short answer.
We can launch the game and all the tools at the same time, and that's the way we think about it. We want to have great games, but also great tools that creators can take to expand the ecosystem after we've launched. GamesBeat has a long question here. Can you surmise some things about player behavior during the different stages of the pandemic? I remember that in 2020, everybody was worried and scared, but we had 30% growth in users for almost everyone. Then that slowed down in 2021 to more like 10% or so. We have a real slowdown now, maybe driven by recession or whatever else. But I see more of the mainstream game companies stalling out right now, and only occasional unique stories. Roblox's continued growth is unique amid the pullback that others saw when players started going out more again and socializing. Is there a read you have on some of the player behavior and how it maps to different attitudes people have had in the last few years? That was the question. And Mr. Fayette says, the enduring trend that I've seen is that gaming is eating the consumer internet. If you were exploring the internet 10 or 15 years ago, you were using a browser. Or when I was a kid, when he was a kid, using AOL Instant Messenger to meet other people. Today, that happens in video games, social video games. Video games
or when I was a kid, when you went on your Commodore 64, your friend's Commodore 64, and went on a bulletin board where you put a piece of message on there, and it would go by radio from one place to another place to another place. And so it would get from, one state like Seattle area to like Jacksonville, Florida area in, a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
When
just
I
an
was
idea. I
when
mean,
I was a kid, we had snail mail and 2 tin cans and a piece of string. So
but those were good tin cans,
they were
man.
good tin
They
cans.
made them out of real metal.
Oh my god.
If they
Okay.
had wrinkles, this would be covered with wrinkles.
Yeah, absolutely. What? I lost my place. I have no idea where I'm at.
I'm sorry.
Video games now mean events. Let's see. Video games are about a lot more than just jumping from platform to platform or shooting in first person. Amen to that. Video games are now, they mean events, they mean music, they mean fashion, they mean dating, they mean creativity, they mean after school jobs. All of these things are now happening inside of games. We're seeing that the pandemic probably shifted an entire generation worth of behavior in that direction. And I agree with that. I really do.
Yeah.
He
A
says, I think it's
lot of behavior was shifted during the pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic caused a paradigm shift. He says, I think that's going to persist. The funny thing that I think about going back to AOL Instant Messenger, my dad didn't use instant messaging at work, but when my generation grew up, now everybody's using Teams and Slack for work. They're using Discord with their friend groups. It's the way you communicate. I think you'll see the same thing happened in games. A whole generation is using video games and video game-like experiences to socialize. As they grow up, that behavior is going to stick, and he's absolutely right about that.
Yeah. Well, I see more and more education going this direction.
Yes, definitely. The thing of it is,
especially,
I think during the pandemic, having VR, having the opportunity to be able to interact with people across any kind of social platform was really, really important because, when I was a kid, if you heard from grandma on the phone, that was great. You got to hear from her maybe once a month, maybe once every couple months, especially if she lived far away. But if somebody called after 9 o'clock at night, it meant somebody was dead. I mean, that was our mindset.
Right.
And now it's a constant flow of communication, and everything is so much less scary. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem frightening all the time. So that's just my way of looking at it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, small things like that are less scary, but of course the news you see is bigger and you see more in your face stuff. So, which wouldn't have happened at one time. It just wasn't reported, and now it's reported all the time. And it's not that it's happening. A lot of that stuff's not happening more or less than it ever did. It's different, yes, but still same kind of stuff's been happening.
Yeah,
from the
that's
start,
true.
So.
That's very true. So let's see, where were we? Oh, Game Beat asks, if that's true, then I guess we may not have to worry so much that we have a temporary downturn. Maybe it's a recession-driven downturn, but you would still expect the audiences to grow if this is an inexorable force. I love big words. I think what we have in the last 6 months is some weakening, at least across the larger video game space. And Mr. Fayette says, it depends on who you are and what you're doing. During a recession, I think consumers are looking for cost-effective forms of entertainment. Free-to-play games are a wonderful way to do that. You might see that consumers are more sensitive about hardware purchases. You might see a slower hardware update cycle. The other things you probably see when you talk about a slowdown, is if you are very aggressive UA-driven game. If that has your growth engine, then my guess is that That's where your pullback is coming from. If your goal is to grow organically through social word of mouth, I think that growth persists and maybe only gets stronger during the recession. People are looking for cheaper forms of entertainment with devices that they have, and I agree with that. I really do.
Yeah.
GamesBeat says, does this kind of cycle cause you to change anything about Rec Room strategy? Do you double down on certain things? And Mr. Fayette says, the way we think about it is how we can double down on making our creators as successful as possible. I love this guy, especially during something like this time. People are looking for low-cost ways to entertain themselves. People are looking for outlets to be creative and to let off steam.
Absolutely.
Some people are all looking for...
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people are looking for ways to make additional money. If we can make our creators successful, a lot of those things become true. That's what we put first and foremost. How can we help our creators build the content that's in their heads and help them reach as large a group of people as possible?
I think that's that covered some of the best parts of Rec Room.
Absolutely.
Some of the absolute best parts.
Absolutely.
You know, the fact that you got an outlet for creativity, you've got an outlet to let off steam, you've got an outlet. I mean, there's so many places that work, and that really covers a lot of it.
Absolutely. I love it. GamesBeat says, where do you stand on a large fee to take from any revenue that related to what players create? Okay, let me read that again. GamesBeat asks, where do you stand on a large fee to take from any revenue related to what players create? There's been a huge amount of discussion around that ever since Epic sued Apple. Now, I don't know what that's about. Do you know anything about Epic suing Apple?
Okay, it's possible that that's the Apple Store app, one of Epic's apps was being overtaxed
Epic is that
or something,
and
so they sued about it. If I remember right, it was something to do with that, and it changed the whole. It started changing the whole way that works. You know, how much can you charge a creator, or for example, if I'm selling your product and I'm the only one who can sell your product,
right,
and you put it into my store and I decide, well, I want 50%.
Right. Right.
Is that fair when I'm the only person who can sell your product? So in Rec Room, if only Rec Room can sell my product, and I've built it in Rec Room, do I own the product? Yeah. Don't I get to choose how much the product is?
Right.
You know, how much, so that there's got to be a balance there somewhere, you know. Right. I understand there's some money that needs to be taken so that they can keep up Rec Room and they can keep up, you know, all the stuff that it takes to make that stuff. But, I mean, you're paying a subscription to use that. Right. Shouldn't that cover it?
Right.
You know, or maybe it's a small fee that it should be, you know.
Right.
Anyway.
Well,
so I think that's what they're talking about there.
Nick Fayette, he answers it this way. The way we look at things for these platforms, they have costs. Sony and Apple have costs. What they're requiring to be on their platform, that's what we're willing to do. As far as our own platform, it's an interesting balance. We want to make sure we pull enough in so we can continue to upgrade Rec Room, its moderation, and its servers. We want to make sure our team is paid and also make sure the creators are getting a fair amount. We're experimenting with a lot of different paths to help people to be successful. It's not simply what you earn with your room. We're rolling out a system called Room Rewards, where we're putting out essentially bounties. We're saying, hey, we would love to see a room that's doing this. We'll pay as much to make it happen, pay you this much as to make it happen. Really, what we're doing is recognizing that one size doesn't fit all for these things. You have to, how you help people understand the systems that are there, how you help them to be successful doing things the way they want to do it. Things the way they want to do. I was going to have to
Well,
take him to
the first
school.
part of what you said there is kind of what I was saying. So that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
absolutely.
you need money to moderate and take care of the systems and work on. I understand there's got to be something that goes to the company that's running the whole system.
Sure. Sure.
But there is a question. In my opinion, if it's the same for everyone, if it's like this flat rate thing, then it should be okay no matter what, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Games Beat, their next question was, what does the roadmap look like for the things you want to do to help the creator community grow? What else are you signaling? And Mr. Fayette says, they're going to see a whole bunch of new tools when we launch our new core game. There's going to be a new core game. They'll have a lot more control over authoring their own interactions. We think we'll give them a bunch of systems that will help them build stickier rooms that have more progression in them. I don't know what that means. We're excited about those two things. I don't know what that means.
Maybe it's like, stuff that you can pick up and more touchable.
Oh, maybe things that you can
I don't know. I'm guessing here.
It would be nice if you had, some things you could take from one room to another that other people build, rather than just the stuff like these costumes. I build costumes, but you can't wear them from one room to another. You can only wear them in the room that you built them in, or in
I wonder if that's what they're meaning.
I'm wondering, that may be it. I don't know.
If someone knows what more stickier rooms means.
Yeah.
Keep it clean and put it in the comments.
You're terrible. He says, obviously, we think Rec Room Studio is huge. It gives them a whole new palette of tools to work with, and I am looking forward to doing that. Rec Room Studio, we want to make sure that that's a continuation of the tools we've already built. We want to make sure that it locks in really wonderfully with the circuit system we built and the Maker Pen. We want to make sure that these are a spectrum of creation. You can move back and forth easily and fluidly and build in the way that you want. It's really about making sure that all those tools fit together nicely so that the output is higher quality visuals, higher quality interactions, higher quality meta systems. That's the goal. We're making sure that all the pieces you would expect are there. And the next question is, how many people do you employ right now? How many people do you think full time?
2,000?
He says, I want to say about 250 full-time. There's quite a large moderation and support staff as well. So there's moderation and support staff beside that. Oops. Are you getting...
That's still a huge number of people.
Absolutely.
I mean, not as big as I thought they were. They're still pretty small compared to what I thought.
Yeah, it's still a pretty small company. He says, are you getting much benefit?
It's just a lot of work to do for 250. So anyway.
Yeah. It says, are you getting much benefit from AI in your own business? Do you use AI for moderation? He says, we have a pretty nifty setup for voice. We use a real-time voice moderation system that's looking for violations of our code of conduct and flagging those without any human involvement. It's been really helpful for scaling up our moderation efforts, especially making sure that it reacts in real time. For many of these gaming systems, it's great to have a report button somewhere, but it means another player needs to take an affirmation affirmative action and write up a report. You need to have a human that reviews the report. By the time all that happens, minutes or hours could have passed. You might have someone inside the game causing a lot of havoc in that time. The promise we see with AI on both voice and on the both the voice side and also some of the room moderation side, you can catch things in real time before any damage is done. And I appreciate that. Because there are some
Can you imagine? I mean, just thinking about like ChatGPT or these generative AI things, can you imagine that being just on and some kid, obviously spamming, bad words or whatever, just, it's like it going bing, 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 5 of them, you're out of here.
And that's pretty much what it's been doing, I think. What's
5
funny about
5
it
minutes
is
in your room. There you go.
Yeah. What's funny about it is you hear these kids, talking on Discord and they're like, I got banned for, somebody turned me in. And it's like, you know what, man, there are moderations in those rooms. And if you aren't smart enough to understand that somebody's always listening, then you really do need to have a time out, period.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
I know that I get moderated a lot by in-game AI, especially because I often go too loud. I jump to a higher volume, and it's just my excitement, and it'll come up and say, this room's being moderated. You're being too loud. It's like, oh, okay, well, I actually appreciate it because I don't realize that my volume has moved up. I'm a loud person typically.
You are.
So I try to bring it back down, and so.
Yeah. This is the Polygon Desert in Rec Room. This is a picture that was in with the article, so I've added it to our slideshow. Okay, GameSpeed asks, what do you think about how open the metaverse can be or will be, given there are some standardization efforts getting started? The Linux Foundation has their Open Metaverse Foundation things like that.
That was a really cool picture.
Did you get to see it?
Yeah. I took a glance real quick. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Fayette says
one of these days they'll make it to where we can have these things up here so we can see them in real time while we're recording. But right now they don't have that yet.
They have it, but they won't give it to me. I don't qualify somehow or other.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They were talking. Yeah, that's right.
Maybe
check out Spaced Out on the other channel.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of the other channel, Mythical Moonhair is another channel, and Spaced Out by Updog is featured on that channel. It's called, what's that called? What do we call the title of that? Will She Win? I think on the
Waiting for Mount Godot.
Waiting for Mount Godot, and it's I think it's worth the watch, but it was kind of an interesting experience. Anyway, that whole room is made in
Yes, it is. It is a Rec Room Studios room. I have had so many
Rec Room Studios, right?
So many friend requests from that room because he put a button up there with my stuff on it, and I have almost 700 friends now. So some of you I haven't gotten a chance to meet yet. Someday we'll play. I plan to live forever, so that'll be fun. All right,
sorry for bringing us off of that, but I just thought the whole check out the other channel. We'll be live tomorrow at 1 p.m. West Coast time.
Yes.
Doing some walkthrough stuff. Yeah,
we're gonna go through the
anyway.
The Magic Door.
Where were we on our journey? Magic Door at 1 o'clock on West Coast time, Seattle time.
Right.
So where are we at on our stories here?
They were asking about the Metaverse Foundation, and Mr. Fayette says, 1, we don't use the term metaverse. As soon as you use the term, the next question you're going to get asked is, well, what is the metaverse? No kidding, really. What is that? Oh, you're a metaverse company. What is that anyway? Honestly, it's probably creating more confusion than it needs to. He says is our view with Rec Room is that we want to be as valuable to our creators as possible. If our creators are telling us they want something, we are very open-minded on that. The beauty of Rec Room Studio and our partnership with Unity is it creates an avenue for people to bring in concepts from outside of Rec Room. Right now, all the content in Rec Room is built with a Maker Pen. By opening up the path to Unity, we allow for a much wider range of content to come into Rec Room. People create this false dichotomy between open and closed. The answer is that there's no truly all the way open system. There's no truly closed system. He says, my guess is whatever emerges here, there will be some standards. There will be some things that don't move around. So there you go. And there it is again. That's a
what was the first part? What was that? There was something I wanted to talk about in the first part of that, but I didn't want to stop you from reading. So
okay.
I don't remember what it was though, and I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, it's hard for me to know. I remember that there was this whole debate about happening around. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I went too far. What is the metaverse? You wanted to know? Do you have an opinion on that?
I hate that word, metaverse. The whole idea of calling it the metaverse. I mean, I know old the other guy from that other platform plays thing with the stuff, they like it, but I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of metaverse. That's so stupid. I mean, holodeck would be better, but of course I'm a Star Trek, I like that.
I like
that.
Yeah.
But VR, virtual reality, is it's already there. I mean, we're virtual reality. It's not real. It's not fake. It's kind of that we're in a virtual space.
Right.
And I kind of like that. It sounds way better than the overspoken word from the other platform.
Right.
I think just virtual reality covers all the platforms, every place.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think that what he's saying here too is that there's, a metaverse indicates that it's a closed system. I think, and that's not, or maybe an open system. And he's just saying there's no such thing really. So I go along with that.
I don't know.
GameBeat says the way I interpret it is whether or not people will own the things that they create in a given world, whether they can bring things in from some other place or take things out to some other place. Those seem like basic principles of interoperability. What the heck does that mean? Interoperability.
The ability to operate in between different places, I'm guessing.
Oh, well, okay. I'll go along with that.
I mean, imagine if everything was on a similar platform. For example, imagine being able to take what we have here, change it into a new language that fit Roblox, and take it in there. Or take it from here and change it into change the language that creates all of that and take it into Minecraft.
Right. Yeah.
That could be something I created in Minecraft. You could bring here would look like it was Minecraft probably, but it would be kind of cool. I mean, it'd be just as a thought. I mean, of course, AI. When you're thinking of AI with let me think how this works. Where you can tell the computer in like ChatGPT, I want this, or in what's the one we were using for pictures, making pictures, where you put in some words and it makes a picture for you. You could take the code from that item and put it in and say, make this in Rec Room, and boom, you've got it. So there would be a possibility of doing that and making it to where you could go cross platforms, maybe. Coming back to the whole AI, generative AI thing, it would be, I mean, I can't imagine making something here that was made in another game to make it really look like the other game. But to be able to do that with AI and have it go, oh, this is what it looks like over there. I can make it over here. Boom, here's the code for it, and boom, there you've got it.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about computers to understand that part of it. I mean, goodness gracious. So I don't know.
I have a feeling if they ever get that going, there's going to be some money in being able to take your item, put it into a thing, and package it to take to another place. I could see, a whole shipping money maker in between games, in between platforms. I already made it here. It's worth $1 to send it over there. I don't want to have to make it again. I already made it here. You send it over there. I see a huge amount of money being able to make. If they were to do that, there's a whole huge amount of money right there being made.
And here's what Mr. Fayette says about that. He says, it's hard for me to know. I remember there was a whole debate happening around music. Do you own your own music? And it all went away.
Right.
Is anybody carrying around a giant hard drive of MP3s anymore? No. We all just subscribe to Spotify. Well, yeah, but you don't subscribe to Spotify. So no one asks me if I own Spotify music or if I don't. Yeah, well, there you go. It's foolish to think that I or any other company will figure this out. Consumers will vote with their preferences and their wallets. They will tell us what they want, and the companies that listen to them will survive. Absolutely. The companies that don't listen will not survive. That's how I think about it. Let's listen to our creators and our customers. Let's see what they tell us about what they want. And there's another picture of Nick Fayette.
Taking a look.
And he is, it says, Nick Fayette is ready to answer your questions. So he's open to hearing from us. GamesBeat asks, what takes up a lot of your time right now? What do you delegate and what do you do that's more just you right now? And his answer is, he says, I spend a lot of time going through and looking at our top performing rooms to try and understand what they're doing, how we're helping them, and how we might be letting them down. Sometimes I go into these rooms and think, oh, they clearly want to do a certain thing, but we've made it very difficult for them to do that. I've spent a lot of time in all the Rec Room studio rooms. People have published to understand what's working and what's not. He says, I spent a lot of time.
Wait a second. He spent a lot of time going to top performing rooms, and he might have gone to Updog's room and seen you on a big screen.
He may have. Wouldn't that be something?
That would be hilarious. Someday you'll be interviewing him. It's like, oh no, I saw you on the big screen and spaced out.
You know what's weird is I run into these people that know Updog and who have been up there, and I ran into somebody at the.
You look familiar.
No, it's like, are you the real Moon Hair? And it's like, yeah. What's up? I saw your video up in the space station. Really? Oh, that's really cool.
Nice.
We get into a conversation and it's a lot of fun. But it's just kind of weird, it's like, you the real Moon Hair?
Rec Room famous.
Rec Room famous. My 15 minutes of fame. Oh gosh, it's so much fun. Let's see, what else does he say here? Okay, what's working, what's not? He says, I spend a lot of time chatting with other companies. We want to do partnerships with other brands to help them understand what it could be like to have the NFL in Rec Room or to have the NBA in Rec Room. Mattel has been wonderful in helping us try out some of their brands in Rec Room. We're starting to understand what those things look like.
Could you imagine?
Masters of the Universe.
Could
I have
you imagine actually getting 22 football players in a football arena in Rec Room, actual pro players, and have an event where you sold tickets to go to that? NFL, man, you guys are missing it because the thing is
we did the whole
kids aren't interested so much in sports anymore.
That's true.
But if they brought it into the Rec Room or brought it into systems like this as an advertising campaign, I guarantee that some of those kids would be going, I want to see this in real life. You know?
I have a room where they can play football, paintball, and they could have a really good time. They'd only need,
Yeah, but are there any touchdowns?
Well, sure. Sure, we can figure out how to make that happen. Okay.
Need to make it to where you have to pick up a ball and take it to the other side without getting shot. Instead of being capture the flag, it's get the ball through the end zone.
I could add that to that.
We could. Hey, we could add. You could create a whole nother. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
That could be fun. Yeah, whole new idea. That's one of the best things about Rec Room, though. I mean, we're just talking and we've come up with this whole new idea. You could go build it. That's crazy fun. So
I might need some help with some of that.
We are not paid by Rec Room for this. We're just here doing this. We like Rec Room.
Yeah, we love Rec Room. You can always buy us a coffee if you like us. Look at the
pizza.
Pizza. Buy us a pizza. There you go. He says we're always staying in touch with the hardware manufacturers as well, learning about what we can about to be helpful for whatever they have over the horizon. So, look at you have pizza. We can have pizza right now. He says, and I spend a lot of time hiring. That's a big part of what we do. I know a lot of people are pulling back. At Rec Room, we have a lot of roles open. Probably at least 15 right now. We're hiring a lot of core
15
engineers.
Roles?
15 spaces.
50?
Jobs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
15 jobs. We're hiring a lot of core engineers to help us make Rec Room run on a wider range of hardware. He says he spends a lot of time doing that. If you're excited about what it means to have truly cross-platform user-generated content, it's a really different, unique problem set compared to what you've encountered elsewhere in gaming. It's full of very fun, very challenging problems. We'd love to have more help, so if you're interested, you should check out recroom.com/jobs. And that's the end of the interview.
I got a problem for him to fix, okay? I got pizza, but I can't eat it from the crust in first. And what if I want to bite it here instead of there? I can't.
I'll tell you what. Somebody asked me the other day. If someone out
there sees this and knows how to fix this issue, please go to Nick and say, hey, I want to work for you because I need to fix the pizza issue.
Yeah.
Big issue. Gotta fix it. I can't eat it from the right side.
Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day why we can't fold it. Okay. Now you're throwing it on the floor.
I dropped my pizza.
There's a rat on the floor.
I can't even find it.
Kidding.
Oh, I got another piece.
You got another piece.
Yeah. I don't know how many pieces are here. Have a piece of pizza. Oops.
Hey, just
5 second. Oh, you picked up another one. I think it's lunchtime.
It must be lunchtime. Are you hungry? I'm hungry.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
we should sign off. We've been here for almost an hour and a half, but let's. I'd like to reiterate a few things first, though. Okay. I love the idea of having an AI system of some sort, especially the idea of the clothing. Being able to put in some stuff and put in your prompts and create a piece of clothing and make it to where it's the player's own thing that they've generated that they could then sell. Because it's not they may have come up with an idea that anyone could recreate, but they're not going to be able to recreate it exactly the way that person did or choose the exact one that they had. And I really think I really think that's a good an interesting idea,
I think
and
it's a wonderful
same thing
idea.
for items,
Right. Right.
But if you're going to be creating whole rooms and stuff, I really think that player-generated items should be used. The AI should be, trying to buy up, take those items and put them into a room. And
Right.
then, if the person wants to publish it, they either need to replace that item or they need to, buy it. Their
Yeah.
choice. Kind of a way to add to the sales of players' items while at the same time helping the person who's building the larger scheme of things. You know, it's like, I want 1940s furniture. Instead of creating new 1940s furniture, find other players that have already created 1940s furniture and pull it in. Kind of the ideas I'm thinking of here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, it's been fun. Thank you for joining us again on Rec Room Roundtable. We'll see you next week at 1:00 on Saturday afternoon, Pacific Standard Time.
And we
If
hope to
you,
see you.
yes,
And we hope to see you tomorrow at 1:00 over on Mythical Moonhair.
yes, Mythical Moon
1:00
Hair,
Western.
Doc and Moon are going to go through the magic door yet again and see what we find for about an hour. All right. Thank you so much
It's
for joining
about
us
an
today.
hour, yeah.
If you like this content today, please give us a YouTube cheer and share this content and comment and let us know what else you'd like us to talk about on Rec Room Roundtable. We're happy to do that for you. So we will see you next time. Buy us a
Next time.
pizza.
Bye.
Bye.
Pizza. Pizza.
Pizza.
So are we off?
Hopefully. Trying to get it that way. Um
Okay. Well, that was kind of weird.